Before Rome, before the Vikings, before the first sword was forged, before the first king wore his crown, there was an empire so old, its king were said to be chosen by the heavens. Our tale goes far, far back and starts at the very beginning of time to answer the oldest question, how was the world created? According to the Persian legends, in the beginning, there was nothing but silence, a void beyond time, beyond space. Within this emptiness, a force unseen, eternal and boundless, began to weave the fabric of all existence. This divine force, Ahura Mazda, the wise and luminous, split the darkness with light with no more effort than a single thought. Through the will of Ahura, the four elements came into being in a swirl: fire, water, soil, and air. First, fire was stirred into motion, and the dry land appeared. Then cold manifested, bringing ice and the oceans. The heavens rose above, the earth lay beneath, and the stars were formed, along with the sun, to spin around the earth and light it up, make it warm and bright. But where there is light, there must be shadows too. Ahriman, the bringer of all evil, emerged from the abyss, seeking to unravel Ahura's great design. So began the eternal struggle, the dance of creation and destruction, of good and evil. Ages passed, and Ahura Mazda filled the earth with its creations. The land grew rich with forests and mountains, wild beasts and gentle animals. But Ahura's greatest work was still to come. A being unlike any other, one who could dream, who could build, who could rule. A being given sense, reason, and wisdom. Men. And over the heads of the chosen men, Ahura bestowed its greatest gift called Far, a divine glory, a light given only to true kings, the mark of those destined to rule with wisdom and justice. But if a king lost this sacred radiance, his reign would crumble and darkness would descend. The first of these chosen men was Keyoumars. No one alive remembers those first days in the world of men, except through the tales passed from father to son. And those tales tell us this. After the world was formed and the first humans walked on earth, one man rose above the rest. His name was Keyoumars, king of the first men, the one who wore the first ever crown, and the first man to face the darkness of Ahriman. In those ancient days, humans lived in caves, clothed in the skin of wild animals, and hunted with stone and bone. Keyoumars taught his people how to live together in peace and harmony, how to find and prepare food, where to shelter. So the first communities of humans were formed. Keyoumars did not have a crown of gold, but the glory of the divine Far was shining from him. He ruled from a high mountain, surrounded by the beauty of the world he was protecting. All the animals in the world, wild and tame alike, reverently paid homage to him, bowing down before him. And so he grew in majesty and power. But even in those first golden days, shadows began to stir. Far away in the dark lands, Ahriman, the creator of all evil, was plotting against him. Keyoumars had a son named Siyamak, whom he loved with all his heart. The sight of his son was the one thing in the world that brought him joy. Siyamak grew into a fine young man, and him and his father had no enemies except for Ahriman, who wanted to destroy all Ahura's creations. Ahriman had a son of his own, Khazurandiv, a monstrous demon like a savage wolf with claws that could cut through stone. He gathered an army of demons and prepared to overthrow Keyoumars. The king knew nothing of all this. until the angel called Sorush, sent from the heavens by Ahura, appeared in front of Siyamak and warned him about these plots against his father. The prince's heart burned with fury, and he gathered an army without telling a word to his father. But at that time, neither fire nor iron had been discovered, so there were no suits of armor, no proper weapons. Humans didn't have any war tactics because they had never even seen one. So the prince dressed in nothing but a leopard skin and went to fight the beast. The two armies met. Khazur-an-Div descended from the mountains like a shadow coming to life, hunting for the prince. Siyamak stepped forward to attack, but the Div sank his claws into the prince's unprotected body and struck him down, leaving the noble Siyamak lifeless in the dust. When the king heard about his son's death, his world turned dark with sorrow. His face was smeared with blood, his heart drowned in grief, and his days were filled with nothing but weeping. Keyoumars and his people mourned for an entire year, until the angel Sorush brought another message from Ahura. Keyoumars, weep no more. Be of sound mind again. I command you to gather an army and fight against this demon. The king turned his tear-stained face toward the heavens and prayed to Ahura that evil would befall those who sought to do evil. Then he prepared to avenge Siyamak's death, resting neither by day nor by night. Siyamak had a son named Houshang, wise and noble. Keyoumars loved him as his own and raised him with care. When the time for revenge came, the king summoned his grandson Houshang and shared with him his war plans. I shall gather an army, but you will command it, as my days are numbered, and you will be the new leader. Keyoumars assembled his forces of fairies and animals, leopards, tigers, savage wolves, even birds, and placed them all under Houshang's command. Keyoumars followed behind, while Houshang led from the front. Khazur-an-Div came forward, his army raising a cloud of dust. The two sides clashed, men against monster, light against darkness. The animals tore through the demon's ranks. Then, like a furious lion, Houshang seized Khazur-an-Div, bound him in animal skin, and severed his monstrous head. Ahriman's forces fled back into the shadows. When Keyoumars heard of the victory and that his son's death had been avenged, his own time came to an end. The world was deprived of the first king's glory. The world was his while he remained alive. He showed men how to prosper and to thrive. But all this world is like a tale we hear. Men's evil and their glory will disappear. The golden age was gone, replaced by a truth the world has never forgotten. Where there is life, there will be war. Now, the triumphant Houshang is the ruler of the world. Will his reign be one of glory? Will he have the divine fire as his grandfather did? Or will he have a tragic fate like his father? Will Ahriman rise again once more for revenge? Well, we're only 40 pages into a 2,000-page book, so we will find out in the next episode. This is Shahnameh, the Book of Kings, the game of Persia's thrones.